tell you a little bit about them and give you a chance to take a look. Thank you for tuning in, and please, if you like the video, give us the like, subscribe. If you hit the bell icon, you'll also be notified about when we're going live. We do our weekly horological happy hour on Thursdays, and we're starting to make these Friday Take 5s a tradition as well. So I actually, truth be told, I have 4 new arrivals, and one that's been on the site for a little bit, but we've been getting a lot of questions about it. So I thought, let's start there, and I'll talk about the Patek 3941. And a lot of people have gotten in touch with us and said, what is a 3941? On a lot of Pateks, when you add the 1 at the end of the reference, it denotes that there are diamonds on it. And you'll see that this is not like a diamond bejeweled case. So this is a little bit of interesting bit of Patek history here. When the 3940 was first introduced, it was made only with a solid back. It had a solid snapback on the watch. And then about a year or 2 into the run, Patek started producing the 3941, which came with a crystal display back, so you could look at that micro rotor caliber 240. So this watch is kind of a rare bird in terms of the reference. You get what is basically a first series Patek 3940 dial, and then you get the display back. They only made this watch for a year or 2, I believe, because a lot of the people who bought 3940s were like, hey, that movement looks really good. I wish I had a display back on my watch. And then you find that this reference became discontinued, and they started making the 3940 with both case backs, which is the way you get them most of the time from the 2000s onward. So this one here is a really beautiful example. It has really nice hallmarks on the side. The condition is really lovely. I believe it's a full kit, box papers and everything. You guys don't need me to wax any more poetic about this particular Patek Perpetual because you all know I'm biased. One of the greatest watches they've ever made in terms of the movement, the case proportion, the design. An incredible watch. So that's the Patek 3941, and in this case, in yellow gold. All right. Next up, for something completely different, we had this watch on the table last night, and we didn't get there. And somebody on last night's live was like, man, I wish we got there. So I thought I would get here today. And this is such a funny watch because, you know, if you had told me a couple years ago that I was going to be excited about a watch from Hermes, I would not have believed you. And I think this is really a remarkable offering. These were all made in small batches, and we don't see them very much. This is, and I apologize for anybody who actually speaks French, the Hermes Arceau L'Heure de la Lune. And this is an absolutely stunning watch. We have a meteorite dial underneath of the time and date discs. And when I first saw this, I thought that the moons would move in order to do the setting, but it actually doesn't work that way. Oh, I got the whole thing there. Let me get the first position. And then when you're setting this, the 2 dials move to show you the change in the moon phase and the date there. And that to me is just absolutely amazing. I love the architecture of this. The case is funky. We have traditional lugs at the bottom, and we have that Hermes kind of stirrup harness lug at the top there. It's big, but it's not too big. This example, I believe, is unworn. Beautiful, beautiful watch. Nice watchmaking from a company you don't expect it to be. Obviously, a nice Hermes strap, a deployant buckle. Very cool watch. Very interesting way of executing this complication of moon phase and a date. Big fan of that one. Then I pulled this because I always like to have something on the stream that isn't like absolutely bananas. And I have a soft spot for IWC. My second nice watch was an IWC Portuguese. And even if I go back to when I was just looking at pictures of stuff on the internet, didn't have any kind of bias towards brands or even really a lot of knowledge, I always liked the look of these watches. So this appears to be a pretty standard Portuguese chrono, but this is in fact the 150th anniversary edition, which has a beautiful white lacquer dial. So lacquer is very similar to enamel in the appearance. but it is much easier to make because you're lacquering a metal disc instead of trying to make this, baked enamel wafer for the dial. So you get a much more vibrant dial, and you get almost this like liquid look to it, which you're probably not going to get on the camera, but in real life you notice it immediately. These also came with a display back, which was different because up until then these always had solid backs, and I believe this was the beginning of them moving towards an in-house movement and away from the 7750. These were somewhere around 2018, and we don't see these often. They came with the white dial, blue numbers, blue hands, and then they also did a blue dial variant that's also really stunning. Great value for the money, a classic watch, amazing versatility. These look good on any strap you want. Big fan of IWC. Always have been, always will be. Then, to go to a true enamel dial, I wanted to pull out this Breguet. This is a Breguet Jump Hour in platinum with an enamel dial. And it's like everything you love about Breguet. You get the coin edge on the side of the case. You get their fantastic profile and proportions. Solid case back on this one. You get Breguet numerals, a single elegant Breguet hand, and then in red at the top there, you have the Jump Hour. And this is super interesting because this has a 24-hour notation here. So as I move forward, you'll notice we're at 1400, 1500, which to me is just very interesting. Hand-painted Breguet numerals on that dial there. I think this is a 35, 36, somewhere in there, so very classic proportions, and just an absolute stunner. Something like this, you think about a watch like this from, Patek Philippe or Longo or any of these other companies, and it would be so tremendously expensive. And I believe we've priced this right around $20,000 on our website for a platinum Breguet Jump Hour. I love it. Really cool. Beautiful watch. And then we end with a bang. If I could pick a single summer watch, we're getting to the end of summer, but if I could pick a single summer watch from our inventory with money being no object, this would be my choice. This is the Patek Philippe 5711/1R. So entirely rose gold, case, bracelet, bezel, the whole kit and caboodle. And they do these beautiful brown sunburst dials on this. The warmth, and it's just, the presence of this compared to the steel, it just blows it out of the water in my opinion. That might be a hot take for some of you, but I would take this over the steel any day of the week. Of course, it is also more expensive, but a big fan of this one. And I don't know, there's something about this, like to wear this for the summer, the warmth of the rose gold, that brown dial, it's just stellar. And the beautiful proportions of a Patek 5711. Now discontinued, so the only place you'll find these is on the secondary market. So that was my 5. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you when we're back again next week. Happy weekend.